Thanks for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. This is Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We do interviews of our readers, healers, and vendors, so you get a sense of who we are before you show up at an event. So I'm here today interviewing Dr. Tina Enerjoy. Dr. Tina, please tell us about what it is that you share at the events.
At the events, at least this event, I'm going to be doing an assessment, an abundance assessment, to get a sense of where we kind of in our alignment with abundance overall, and also looking at positive, negative messages that we're telling ourselves, maybe at the subconscious level. And then I'm also offering, so you can do that, and or a relationship assessment, and we can look at your alignment with having either the relationship you want, whether you're single or married, and looking at, again, positive and negative vibrations that are contributing or taking away from that experience.
It's great. And how does that fit in with sort of all of the work that you do? What is the general context of all of your work?
Well, I practice a method called the body code. Some people may know it as the emotion code. And what it does, it allows me to identify underlying causes of what people are struggling with and release them. And specifically in terms of relationships and abundance, we have this extra program that we can use that I can get at more specific questions to ask. But I help clients with a huge variety of issues, health, wealth, relationships, and happiness. And I also give talks on a regular basis. One of my specialties is in Alzheimer's and dementia and cognitive brain health. I'm a holistic brain health practitioner because I have a PhD in neuroscience and did postdoctoral work in Alzheimer's disease.
Great. It's great. And so do people come to you with a typical, like a concern, a question, or they get intrigued by the type of readings you do? Like how does it typically work at a fair?
At a fair? At the fair, what I do is, in general, for free services, or just to get a sense of what I do, I have this little game that I play that involves rolling a dice. And it's to allow people to experience what the subconscious knows, because the subconscious is always picking up information about what is good and bad for us. It's this infinite source of information. And so I'm going to give you a little sample of what it might know, right? And so, for example, some things it knows is like it knows how much sleep you're getting and how much you need, or whether you have a nutrient deficiency, or whether you have an allergy, or so and so forth. There's just so much it knows. And that's why the methods I use are so powerful, is because it knows more about you than your doctor does. It gets straight to the underlying causes, and you'll learn a lot about yourself and about health and about really how to get healthy if you've been struggling and not knowing how to make differences in your life. I'm telling you, the methods I use are so powerful. So come see me.
Oh, that's great. So you have an entryway that people get a sampling of what you do and and all the different ways you can work with them. That's great. And so maybe you can say a little bit more about how do you work with people privately? So what does a session typically look like? And
yeah, privately, what I do is, so clients come to me with such a variety of different issues, again, related to health, wealth, relationships, or happiness. So they may come to me with a health issue that they just, or maybe a series of health issues that they just can't seem to get beyond, right? I have a client I'm thinking of that had so many different health issues, and she was really overwhelmed, seeing lots of doctors. And she was like, I just don't know where to start. Like, I can't seem to get a handle on this. And the subconscious knew where to start, and it knew exactly what those underlying causes are. And we addressed, a series of different pathogens one by one, and things are changing for her. She's getting healthier and healthier and stronger and more her old self. And so that's the kind of thing we do. That's in the world of health, but in terms of relationships, there are things like, for example, a client may come to me and they may be in a really difficult relationship. Maybe it's their spouse and they are on the verge of divorce, for example. Well, there's so many different things that can go into that, but oftentimes we're triggering each other in many different ways, and that has to do with our own personal experience, but our inherited experiences as well. So we can identify and release triggers. We can also look at, how much in harmony they are in versus conflict, and change everything so it's harmony. We can help them create better communication patterns, and also affect their energy and how they feel about each other. We can only work with a client who shows up to some degree, a little bit, make some shifts sometimes in the other client. But oftentimes I've worked in situations where just changing the one person that comes to me can turn around the relationship drastically. And sometimes it results in like amazing marriages and, you know, much happier clients in that way. And sometimes it ends up meaning that the separation needs to happen. But regardless of what happens, it's always healthier for the client.
Yeah, that's great. And so you mentioned that you have all this background in neuroscience. How did you get started doing more of this flavor of work?
Yeah, I went from neuroscience to epidemiology. Epidemiology is the study of disease across populations, and it's understanding what are those underlying causes that contribute to outcomes. And my focus was in mental and cognitive health, Alzheimer's disease. And the work, I left academia because I loved research, but I was in a toxic environment. And I was in 2 in a row. And so I was really tired of like having to compromise my morals. So I had a lot of healing work I needed to do based on that experience. And so I was on, and I also had a lot of lifelong trauma growing up, basically. And so I really needed to find techniques that worked. And I had decades of counseling, antidepressants, and none of that stuff I really felt like was getting to the root cause of the problem. So that's how I led into, when somebody introduced me to the body code, the emotion code, and then the body code, where I could get underlying causes directly, I was like, I have to try this. This sounds amazing. And I'm not going to need like decades of research to identify these, you know, which is what you have to do essentially in Alzheimer's, to do a prospective study. So I decided to try it. I decided I have to remain open, and wow. So, you know, now I don't have that lifelong depression. I don't have my anxiety anymore. My brain is working better than ever before. I had learning disabilities. Just I'm so much more able to function in this world, and I've helped hundreds of clients believe that change is possible when change wasn't before. And that is one of my greatest missions in life, is to help inspire people to realize that change is possible if you have access to the right methods. And mental health is something I work a lot with, you know, clients with all kinds of severe problems, and they can be the most hopeless in many ways, you know, in terms of how they feel, because of maybe having really horrific childhoods, or having a mental illness that you tied up, but having mental illnesses that you know, where the doctors say this is the way it's going to be for the rest of your life, right? And for the most part, for most people, I don't believe that it has to be that way. I think things can improve. I don't know whether they can always go back to baseline, but I've been able to do some pretty miraculous things. And one of the things I like to talk about is my Alzheimer's reversal story. So that's one of the things I like to share with people, is that I believe Alzheimer's is reversible. And I have stories to tell about that. So
that's great. That's great. Mm-hmm. If people want to learn more about you on the web, where do they go?
My website is lifelongenerjoy, that's ENERJOY.com.
Great.
Well, they can get top 10 tips for a happy and healthy brain there.
Great. Well, it'd be lovely for people to see you at our fairs. Mm-hmm. So we have the Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness events. We are online at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. We have fairs right now in Seattle, in Redmond, in Portland, Salem, and Eugene. So thanks so much, everyone's watching. Come and see Dr. Tina Enerjoy. Take care.
Thank you, Lily. I'm looking forward to it. Bye.